All right. Hello, hello. So here we are in the jungle of Costa Rica, and I just got a hit to drop in and have this conversation with you. So I'm having this conversation with you. And if you're watching live, I'm doing it just on my webcam because I have realized that so many incredible conversations and downloads go unspoken and undocumented because of the friction, of the time that it takes to either set up all the cameras or the resistance of just not wanting to do it. And also, I just got this brand new M4 MacBook Air and the camera quality. I mean, it's not like a professional camera, but it's so much better than my old one. So here we are dropping in. And I'm also sharing this because we just went through a content creation offer experience in my world, which is amazing, by the way. It's called Scene. You should definitely jump into it if you're wanting a 30-day challenge. A lot of the people were saying like, oh my goodness, for the first time, I feel like I know what to post and posting feels easy. But anyways, shameless promotion, but that's not even why I started that sentence. The reason I'm sharing this with you though, is because going through it myself and watching people go through it, it made me think a lot about friction and posting and just, how much done is better than perfect. And so I really am committing to creating more long form content. And the truth is, I could talk about stuff all the time. And there's these moments where I get this creative hit and these creative downloads, and it's just like I am the channel. I am the conduit for this incredible conversation. And there are, if I'm really honest, there are so many times that the conversation doesn't get birthed through me because of either it takes like an hour to set everything up and then I don't have the spark anymore, or it's going to take an hour to set everything up and I don't want to do it. And I'm like, oh, I'll do it later. And then later never comes. And it's not for not wanting to do it. It's just that I'll write down the notes and then I just don't feel the conversation. So I'm sharing this with you, one, to just really anchor in my intention, and two, just because I know this is something that so many people experience, and just really embracing how easy can it be, how frequently, how easily can we actually create. So with that being said, welcome to Frequency with me, your host, Michael Edwards. We're going to have a pretty epic and raw conversation today. And this is sparked because someone in this offer that I was actually just talking about sent me a message, a question, and I've been kind of marinating on this and wanting to respond. So it's about authenticity and money. And so that is the theme. That is what today is going to be about: authenticity and money. So this is what this client said. I had circumstances and questions about money. I was writing to you, and right before I was going to send it to you, it's almost like you were already answering me. Moments from your different programs and your videos started answering my questions of self-sabotage. Snaps for that. Love that. Very intentional about the content that I create. So glad to hear that that was answering that. She said, my authentic self is the core. I love my authentic self. I love money. I deserve it for being me. Can it really be that simple? Surrender, trust, creating our life through our energy, frequency, love, imagination, and vibration, our true self. It sounds so woo-woo as I'm writing it and so illogical, like I'm saying it for the first time all of a sudden. Can we truly manifest money this way? I'm tearing up and I feel overwhelmed with love, and I'm so happy. Okay, I love this so much. And so beautiful. This feels like a moment of bliss when we experience the dissolving of the self. But I also want to answer this really honestly because there are a lot of layers to this question. And from an energetic perspective, which is the highest perspective, the highest truth, it is true that from this place of authenticity, we manifest money. We create our abundance. Abundance is our natural state. And so we move into that authentic self-expression, that highest, truest self. Yes, we are in the frequency range where abundance is natural, but there's a little bit more to it than that. And so I really want to talk about that today. First, we'll just start with, when I talk about authenticity, I'm not talking about your personality. I'm not talking about just being yourself or showing up a certain way. I'm talking about literally dissolving all of the fragmented parts of self and not self that are keeping the divine you that is available to you in every now from flowing through you uninhibited. So it's not a personality thing. It's getting out of the way for source to move through you kind of thing. And this works on two levels. There's the getting out of the way of source, and there's also the human level. And these two pieces matter. And sometimes we see people that don't have these two pieces together, or you might have experienced this yourself. And it can kind of feel like we have some split personality where it's like there's this part of you that's, I can dissolve into the divine and experience peace and bliss and joy and enlightenment. But then there's this very human part of me that's still very messed up. And when that human part of me gets triggered and I'm in the human, I have a lot of problems. And you see this in other people too. This is where I think a lot of the criticisms of spirituality come from, is when we see people that are air quotes spiritual, but then in their human, they do a lot of fucked up shit, essentially. And that has nothing to do with spirituality, although people always want to paint it with that brush. It just simply has to do with that person where they are in their journey. So part of it is getting out of the way for source to move through you. The other part is updating your human and bringing your human into alignment with that awareness and with that state of being. And a lot of what that is going to look like is dissolving the past stories, dissolving your not enoughness, dissolving the fragments of separation where you've rejected parts of yourself. It's going to look like actually cultivating the vibrations of love, joy, peace, bliss, gratitude, cultivating those higher states from within. And so people get really confused about this. They look at the scale of consciousness and they think, oh, it's feeling joy, it's feeling peace, it's feeling love. And it is, but it's cultivating it from within. If something happens in your external environment and you feel joy, that's great, but it's a different thing than cultivating it within. And so part of this is like your authentic state, because your truest, highest self, the part of you that is divinity in human form, is never suffering. So anytime you're suffering, anytime you're experiencing lack or restriction or whatever, that's not your authentic self. Your human is misaligned with your divine self. So it's almost like a hose. It is literally like a hose that's kinked, right? You're like, I'm being my authentic self. I'm the hose. I'm like, yeah, but the hose is kinked. It's not flowing through, because no matter what you're experiencing, there's a peace, there's a joy, there's a bliss that's available to you in every now. And so when I talk about authenticity, I'm really talking about bringing the human and the soul into this higher state of alignment and coherence and oneness. And it doesn't mean you have to be perfect. There's going to be moments for all of us that we get triggered into our human, for lack of a better word. But the cultivating of that state as your predominant state is a major part of what this work is. So I just want to clarify first that that's what I mean when I talk about authenticity. And as a byproduct, hear that again, as a byproduct of living in that state, you're going to discover who you really are through synchronicities, through downloads, through experiencing yourself in the absence of proving energy, of performance, of what you think you should do. Because this is the thing, when you're in that authentic state, like we talked about, your soul isn't suffering, your soul also isn't susceptible to bullshit. So when you're in that authentic state, whatever your parents projected onto you, whatever your past partners, whatever society told you you're supposed to do or not do, you're supposed to be or not be, how much of you is the right amount, how much of you is not enough, how much of you is too much, your soul is not susceptible to any of that. And so the more you're in this authentic state, when you're living with your human in alignment with your divine, all that nonsense, it just fades away. You remember it, but it's a very distant thing that does not have the power to control you. And so as you cultivate this state and you live in this awareness, you start to experience yourself very differently. And this is where you start to become more of who you are. And so I guess in this sense, there is that kind of personality aspect that we think about when we think about authenticity, but it's not coming from the personality aspect. I hope you can see it in this explanation I'm giving you right now. It's coming as a byproduct of how you experience yourself in this state of being. Like, I'll give you some examples from my life. I mean, the very fact that I'm just in Costa Rica right now, it's something that's been on my heart. It's something that's been in my field forever. And I finally just said yes to it. And it's like, as I've been here, so anyway, I was like looking at my camera roll today and I was scrolling back to before I came and I felt my energy. I was like, oh, who is that? I don't even know who he was. It's like 2 weeks ago. But I just feel like I said yes to a higher octave expression of who I am. And I already feel that. I feel like for a long time, I was on this not sure who I was when it comes to, there's like this soulful healer, tribal part of the land energy part of me, but then there's also this bougie hotels, business, make lots of money energy. And any identity is a construct that can limit who we are. But I think as I've said yes and experienced myself more in my authentic expression, I'm like, oh, I am more of this healer energy. And part of experiencing of that is actually dissolving the idea that that version would be less prosperous. It's actually more prosperous because it's the truth. Although my mind has not believed that until recently. And that is the next place that we're going to go. But to just finish this thought, right now, I'm in a deeper experiencing of who I really am. Another thing that's been coming through is you probably know that I do these activations. I do them generally on every full moon and new moon. And I've been feeling really called to make music and sing. And this is obviously not something that I've really seen many other people do, or definitely no one that has a business like I do. It's not something that's going to generate revenue. It's just not like a thing that you do on this path that I'm on that's logical. But what is coming through my soul and my spirit is to learn to sing so that I can sing and chant as a part of these activations. And I have been having a singing lesson every week with this amazing opera singer. And I've got all this music making equipment, and I've started learning to make my own music for the activations, and I feel it, like something is awakening within my soul from that. I actually am just getting excited even tuning into this right now. Yeah, it's just so magical and not ever what I thought. Like, I had a horrible relationship with singing growing up. I've always thought that I had a terrible voice, and I don't know, I've been doing this for like maybe 2 months now, and I am falling in love with singing. When the evening comes, a lot of the times I have this time where I just start humming and chanting, and it feels so sacred, and it feels like this visceral thing is waking up inside me. And I can already feel the impact it's going to have on the spaces when I'm ready to share that with other people. So that's kind of an example of that authentic expression coming through. That's not something I ever would have thought, but that has come from living in this beautiful, authentically expressed state. And so that's the frequency of authenticity. That's what I'm talking about energetically. Okay. And then I always like to look at things in 3 layers. So classically, this is called the perpetual transmutation of energy. But to simplify that, everything is energetic and then mental and then material. Energy, mind, matter. Thought gives form to energy, matter gives form to thought. Or you could also say you get on a frequency, you're attuned to that frequency, then you receive thoughts on that frequency. And then if you can hold that thought in that mind and stay on that vibration, then you can create that thing, manifest that thing, hold it in your hand. Attune, think it, hold it. That's the architecture. And so we just talked about the energetic part, but then next is the thought layer. And the thing is, when you truly shift your vibration, your thought for the most part will change, but we tend to also have sticky thoughts. And so I see this a lot when people talk about what they're able to manifest in their reality. People will often say there's this thing that feels really easy and free and fluid, but then there's this other thing that's not. People will often say, I can manifest these really valuable things and be given them for free, but I can't actually manifest money. And that generally is something that tells me there's a mental money block. Sometimes this can be energetic too, but often is more living in the mind. Because if they're on a frequency where they're having synchronicities and things are coming into their experience easily, but it's specifically money that they're not able to manifest, then it tends to be that it's something in the mind. The vibration that you're on dictates the reality that you experience. So if you're just completely in a lack-based reality, an uncooperative reality where like nothing is working out for you, nothing good is happening for you, you're not having positive relationships, you're not having synchronicities, you're not having divine downloads, you're not having anything, then it tells you it's a vibrational thing. It's reflective of where your vibration is. But if you're having mostly cooperative things, except for in a specific topic, it usually tells you that it's more of a mental thing, because you can see that you're experiencing a reality that is on that frequency, except where you have additional restrictions, which I find tend to be more mental. They tend to be more unconscious. So like I was like this with love for a long time. I was like, I can manifest money, I can manifest friendships, I can manifest all these opportunities, but like love is not available to me was literally the belief code that I was running. And there is an energetic component to that too, but it's when your frequency is living at this other place, it's going to be mostly mind work that's going to help you unlock that. And so I say this because this is the next piece of this authenticity money piece where it's like, okay, yes, it's true that you aligning with your most authentic expression in the way that I described at the beginning of this conversation is this major key to abundance is your birthright and living in your God-given prosperity. However, there's also the mind work around money that has to happen. And I could talk about this forever, but a lot of it comes back to value, valuing yourself and valuing your service and being open to receive money. And I had such a journey with this for a long time. I felt like there was almost like this ego part of me that wanted to have really high prices and charge these things. But when it actually came to a human being in front of me and asking them for money, I felt so awkward and uncomfortable about it. And I overgave so much. You guys, when I tell you that I overgave so much, like it was insane. There was one point in the early days of my business, and I had, oh my God, it's like such dark times when I look back on it. But I had really gone in on like having a low ticket offer and a community space. And foolishly, I had invested, not foolishly in the investment, but I had invested really heavily, like six figures into this mentor. And there were obviously a lot of great things I learned. Some of them I learned through contrast. But one of the things that she had kind of said is to like really focus on like low ticket group offers to start, which is completely like the worst advice for most people. So I was really focused on this and I just so wanted to help people. When I first learned RTT and when I really came into my healing gifts, I was like, I literally feel like I have a superpower. I'm going to change the world. If everybody could experience my magic, the world will be a different place. And then you hear in the spiritual community, service is the path to prosperity. And so I was just like, great, I have this gift. I want to be of service. I want to help people. And so I gave and I gave and I gave. And I had this low ticket membership and people got this huge library of all these programs that I've done. You could literally change your whole life with these programs. And they got monthly calls with me and I added things all the time. And I'm going to be really honest with you. I added things all the time, not because I wanted to, but because I constantly felt like it wasn't enough, which I look back on in hindsight and it was just insanity what I gave. And also because again, I really wanted to make it accessible and I wanted to help people. And I was so in resonance with the pain around money and the money wound that I didn't want anyone else to feel that way. And so I also put the payments for this on a sliding scale. And it was like, I don't know what it was, I think it started at $22. And so a lot of the people in this group membership were paying me $22, like $22 a month for all this stuff. And I knew that I was a world-class healer at that point. But yeah, this is what I did. This is how I ran my business. And it was crazy. I had times like I was selling and like doing all these things and all the money that I was making, because I did still have some private clients and some higher ticket things, but a lot of my time and energy was going into this group thing. And I was believing that that would take off and through the universal laws and the money would just somehow come, even though the math didn't really make sense. And so much of the money that I was making was going back into the business, but not in ways that was productive because it's kind of like my boat was leaking and I was trying to plug it in these different ways. And I was paying like coaches, like anytime a coach was like, the reason your business isn't working because this and this, all the fear-based, low frequency problem solution tactic, mind-based marketing, I would fall for those things and I would buy them and they never worked. And I would do what they would say. I was like, it's social media. And so I was paying like these different companies to do social media or to do marketing or to do branding for me. And it just, nothing ever helped really move the bottom line. And part of it is I was choosing the wrong people and it was the wrong thing. But part of it was also my energy because I was in victim consciousness and I was trying to find something to save me. And I also had real blocks around actually holding my power and my value around money. And so yeah, most people were paying $22 a month. And I literally many times where I could barely eat, I would be having the cheapest food. And then I would be having my mom lend me money to buy dog food because I was like, I cannot eat properly, but I obviously can't not feed my dog. And at one point, I think I owed my mom like, I don't know how much it was, like over, I think up close to like $1,000 for dog food because that's how bleak things were. And that's like crazy to look back on this time. But anyways, something that really hit me is I would watch these people that had come into my space and they were paying me $22 a month. And they would go into other coaching spaces and they would pay thousands of dollars. One woman, it was in one of my spaces paying me like $22 a month, went into a space and paid $4,000 upfront for, I don't even know what it was, a couple of calls. And multiple other people went into multi five-figure investments, like $18,000, $22,000 investments. And at first I was hurt and I was pissed because I was like, how dare you take advantage of me and only pay me $22 a month with the value of what I offer and then go and pay all that money to these other people. I literally made me feel sick to my stomach. And then I turned that statement, all those feelings around, and I said that to myself. Instead of victim consciousness, how dare you do this to me? How dare I do this to myself? How dare I can feel this in my body. I don't know if you can feel the charge as I tune into this. How dare I undervalue myself, my work, my life force energy. It wasn't that even just about my work at that point. It's like the quality of my life. I'm undervaluing myself so much that I'm suffering. I'm living a life of lack and suffering in the name of helping and all these things. And it's actually not in alignment with spiritual law because yes, service is part of spiritual law, but it's not just about service. It's also about the highest good for all, the highest good for all. And you are a part of the all. I am a part of the all. I am a part of the all that is. And furthermore, I am my first point of contact of the all that is. I'm a fractal of the one consciousness. But in terms of my experience, I am the nexus, the central point through which I experience my life. In personal development world, sometimes people call this main character energy. Yes, I am the main character of my life. The good that I have the capacity to bring in the world, it comes through me as me. It overflows from my cup. But if I'm not filling my cup, if my cup is empty, I can't overflow good into the world. I have to overflow abundance into my own life before I can overflow things into others. And a lot of this came from not actually valuing myself. It was not about the other people. Other people are just simply mirroring back the energy of who you're being. So it wasn't that they didn't value me, it was that I didn't value me. And that was reflected in the decisions and the choices. And so I really had to work on this. I really had to come to value myself, not just as like what I provide, but as a being. Like I deserve to live the life that I want to live. My dog deserves to live the life that I want him to live. I get to have prosperity. Before we even go into the energy of the work, I get to have prosperity. That is the minimum standard for me, for myself. Not being in survival, all bills are paid, money is good, and being in overflow, being able to say yes to my desires, open to receive. And then into the work, valuing my services, valuing the transformation. And part of that is valuing yourself, but it's also valuing people who value you. So then it moves into, and I have a masterclass where I talk about this more. There's a mirror energetic to it. So it's you also have to value people that value you. And that means moving out of resonance with people who don't value this kind of work enough to pay for it and into resonance with people who value you. I've seen such a shift in my reality. I used to charge $400 for a session once upon a time and then $1,000. And it used to be sticky with people paying that. There was a lot of friction. Now, it's like the minimum to work with me one-on-one is $4,500. And to come into my group space, my inner circle, Lux Familia, is 10 grand. And that's going up soon. I have no price objections. There's no friction. It's like the easiest thing in the world. These people come to my life, into resonance with me. Sometimes they come into an offer or two. Sometimes they literally just sample my free work, like my podcast and my YouTube. They book a call, they reach out, or they book an alignment call. We have a chat. No pressure. I literally don't sell people. We just have a conversation about where they're at, what they're interested in, the work, whether I think they're a fit or not. And then I say the price. No sales, no handling objections, no pressure. People like, get the credit card on the call. I don't do any of that. I'm like, I'll send you the link if it feels aligned. I'll see you inside. No pressure. And people literally come in like it's butter. It's so easy. It almost feels not real sometimes. But that is a resonance thing. That came from shifting into resonance with that frequency, recoding my beliefs around that. So I believe that it's valuable to that kind of person. I actually believe that that person is winning the lottery. Like when the right person finds me, they win the lottery. I win the lottery too, and not because of the money, but because it expands the space. It expands my world. But they win the lottery when they find me. People don't know. And people are like, I found you and I can feel that you're going to be my mentor. And I just knew. People say that a lot. I just knew, but they don't know. They don't actually know how good it's going to be and how much just transformation and soul awakening they're going to get from being in my spaces and working with me. People get it. It's invaluable. It's invaluable. I put a price tag of $10,000 on it, but it is invaluable. It is the greatest. Like, people's lives will be forever changed. The trajectory of people's lives are changed when they come into my world. And I'm sharing this with you because I want you to feel my frequency and my beliefs around this. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, the work that we do in my world. The $10,000 is just the dotted line on the paper signed. It's the formality. But what's actually happening, it's beyond words. It's beyond anything. It's invaluable. That's the belief code that I have around my work and my space. So we've talked about energy, the authentic energy. We've talked about the beliefs and valuing yourself and valuing the people who value you, who value your services, who value your time. And this is a really interesting thing because value in terms of other people can be quite subjective, right? Like people might value the transformation, but they have their own money stuff and they don't value it monetarily. And people are funny about this. You'll see in every industry I've been in, particularly in the photography and media industry, you'd see this a lot, these memes of like $500 client, revision, complaint. They want things perfect. $50,000 client, thank you, invoice paid in full. And it's so true. That happens everywhere. And that happens in the transformation industry as well. And a lot of it is because of what the value of that money means to that person. And so someone who has a little bit and is in a lot of scarcity, maybe will pay you $500 and that feels like a lot to them. And this is the thing about low ticket versus high ticket is like people who are in lack have real scarcity around their money. And so they value their money in a survival kind of way. And so someone that's in that state might pay you $500 for something, but it feels like a lot to them. They feel like they need a lot, like they need you to fix their whole life. And that's where like stress and disappointment and complaints and all these things can come in. Whereas someone might pay you $10,000 or $50,000 objectively is a lot more, but subjectively, if that person has a lot healthier relationship with money and is in abundance and is in flow, which you want clients that live in this state because they're going to be a lot easier to work with, then yes, they expect the service, but they don't expect all these crazy things from you. They don't expect you to change their whole life. And this is one of the reasons I don't think it's a good idea to pressure people to buy. There's this thing in the coaching industry. It's like, you need to invest, you need to scare yourself, you need to like really go big and all these things. And it's like, we'll do that if you want to, but I'm not going to tell you to do that because I don't want the energy that comes with that. Someone who like dysregulated themselves to put them in my space, that's not my person. And that's not what we're doing anyways. We're not doing get rich quick energy. We're doing soul work. Yes, we're doing unlock your highest prosperity. Yes, we're doing align with your highest timeline and become who you really are in abundance and prosperity in this really deep spiritual high vibe, just prosperous, expansive relationship with money as part of that. But we're not doing get rich quick. So I have no idea what that timeline will look for you. That comes as a byproduct of the work. So I don't sell from that place because I'm not inviting that energy in. So perhaps something to think about for you. But to just finish this point, it's not about $500 or $50,000 or $500,000. It's about that person's relationship with the money. And so someone who has a very lack-based relationship with money will bring that into the interaction if they're paying you. But there's tons of people who are in a relationship with their own money and in a relationship with valuing services and what you do, who will pay you 5 figures, 6 figures, whatever it is. And it's just easy. It's easy. They're happy. I mean, obviously you have to be good at what you do and actually fulfill the promise that you make, but it doesn't have to be this sticky thing. So it starts with valuing yourself and then really valuing the people that value you in that way and in that frequency. And then the third piece, and this is why I wanted to have this, well, all of the pieces are why I wanted to have this conversation, but this last piece is very important. Remember the 3 layers: energy, mind, matter. So then it's like you have to have pathways in the material world for money to come. And this is the thing. This is where we like go wrong sometimes in like the spiritual conversations, the 5D and manifestation. It's like the things you do in the 3D are also part of the architecture of the 5D. So it is true that you can shift your vibration and shift your beliefs and that money can come from unexpected sources. That is 100% true. We've all experienced that at some point, but we don't want to rely solely on that because it's usually rooted in some kind of avoidance, which is also belief and frequency. At minimum, we need to have a main pathway that money flows to us. This is where the work that I do, people really thrive, is when there's a main pathway that money flows to them. Like sometimes people come in and it's like they don't have an offer, they don't know what they're doing to make money. And the work still works, but it takes longer because there's this getting in the authentic energy, raising your vibration, working on your beliefs, getting in this state of receiving. But first, you kind of have to channel what you're meant to do. And then you have to build the structure and then money can come. So it can take longer than someone who, like, say, already has a business and a consistent money pathway. And they're just like, I'm looking to expand that pathway. I'm already a conduit for money and I'm looking to be a conduit for 10 times as much money. That feels delicious. And that can happen really, really fast, really, really, really fast. We see that all the time. But we want to have that structure in place. And I've had a lot of private clients that have been in startups and they taught me a lot about what they call minimum viable product or minimum viable service. And it's just basically like, what is the base product? So I had this guy that I worked with, and he was the CEO of when AI and like media softwares first came out, like the softwares that take like long form content and splice it into short form content using AI. I worked with this guy who was the CEO of one of those companies, and he gave me free access to the product, and I definitely used it a lot. And he wanted feedback on all these things. And I was like, well, this and this and this and this. And then we had this conversation about it. And he's like, these are all things that are in the pipeline that are coming. But in order to make a startup profitable, you have to launch with minimum viable service, which is just basically what's the minimum product that you can offer that is worth the money that people can pay for. And then you can add all the bells and whistles later. And so this was the problem with why this low ticket membership really wasn't the thing for me. It actually isn't the membership itself. It's the fact that that was where all my energy was going. And that was the thing I was trying to generate income from instead of having like a higher ticket, close proximity thing, which is what I have now, my inner circle, Lux Familia, or one-to-one. Like I could have been promoting one-to-one, right? Every time someone comes into Lux, it's $10,000, which I only need to sell a couple of things a month to have a pretty significant income. And then I have one-to-ones as well. And then there's people that are on payment plans. And so there's recurring income from that. And it's just like I only have to sell so many things. And it feels so easy. That's my core offer is my inner circle, right? Is Lux. And so what a lot of us do is because when we're out there consuming marketing, we experience people's marketing, which are like the branches of a tree. It's like we experience the leaves. So we experience their, you could say, top of funnel in marketing language. And so that'll be their like free masterclass or their like low ticket community offering and their low ticket things. And so because we experience that first, we think about that first. We go, oh, this is the first thing I have to build. But like if you aren't making enough money to pay your bills, or like you want to radically increase what you're making and you don't yet have the cash flow to pour into those things, because the furthest out branches of our marketing, the leaves on the tree, the top of funnel, is generally the highest investment, lowest return. And it's necessary for scaling, but it's not necessary for profitability. So we want to be in profitability before we go into that kind of scaling. You want to have your minimum core offer and you want that is profitable, and you want to get that going first. So I say this because this is true in many kinds of businesses. I want to say it's true universally, but I don't know if it's true in every single business. I'm sure there's facets of this that's true, but I definitely know that it's true for the person that asked this question. So you've got to get, what is my core offer? What is the main thing that I do? What is the main thing that I sell? Does it work? Does it fulfill the promise that I'm saying? Am I actually getting the results that I say that I can get people? When people come in, are they loving it? Is the feedback good? One of the biggest shifts that I made in my business that was so transformational is I used to just sell one-off sessions with me. And I sometimes will pop those in here and there or as like an add-on to a program. But there's a key there. As an add-on to a program, I don't do them one-off anymore. Sure, we can do some great work, but really people get the results when they come into my world and they walk with me and we kind of do life together. Just coming for a one-off session, you might shift your energy and break through some limiting beliefs, but it's not really going to be this huge transformation that we're looking for. And that's what I'm about. I want people to be like, holy fuck, there was life before I worked with Michael and there was life after. And so I used to sell these one-off sessions, and in my mind, and when I had like limited money paradigm, I was like, well, I can barely get people to spend $1,000 for a one-to-one. It seems crazy to ask for more. But then I was like, well, what if I stop thinking about what people can afford and I start focusing on what is my minimum viable product? What do I actually need for people to get transformation? I knew right away. I was like 3 to 4 sessions and 4 or 5 Telegram days of support. And so that is what I created as this one-to-one intro offer into my world. It's called the Portal Experience. And I think it's actually less sessions now because as I got better at it, I was like, oh, I can do this in less time. But it is transformational. The people that do that, that work with me for like 6 to 8 weeks, they come out of that and they're like, I am different. That thing of there's life before working with Michael and life after, that is achieved by that experience. And when I first launched it, it was $3,600 and now it's $4,400. And it's an easy yes for the right person. And people do that. And it is very rare. I don't actually think I can think of a single instance where someone's done that and then not stayed in my world, or whether they continue into higher one-to-one mentorship package, or where most people go is into Lux, my inner circle, because Lux is magic. It is literally the center of my world and it's where we do life together and it's amazing. But that did not happen when I was doing one-off sessions. Almost no one that I did one-off sessions with continued with me. Isn't that interesting? Maybe you already know this stuff and you're just having a beautiful reinforcer, or maybe there's a paradigm shift happening in you right now. Think about that. The flip between the struggle to sell $1,000 sessions that didn't lead to longevity, that was based in my scarcity paradigms, to this different choice that I made in the 3D, which was to optimize for transformation, selling $4,000 packages that lead into a $10,000 package that pretty much everybody upgrades because of how good it is. That is why my business is profitable now. All the layers. I talked about energetic, I talked about mental and mindset shifts, but then actually also the choices. And you can hear it in the numbers. I sell things that are 4 and 5 figures and I sell them frequently. That is why my business is profitable. That is why when I want to go to Costa Rica to the jungle, it's easy. That is why I'm able to bring on the support. That is why I'm prosperous. So yes, I'm in my authentic energy. Yes, I've worked on all my belief work. Yes, I'm continuing to be of service and grow my gifts and grow my business and grow everything. But I've also made the choices that align with those things. And this is the thing for a lot of us, this is where this last step is where we get messed up. Because we're like, okay, it's like the energy, I'm doing the energy stuff. And then, yes, I can believe in this thing, but it's like, okay, but actually believing this thing means that you act as though it's true. So if you're doing manifestation work around a $50,000, $100,000, $1 million month, what do your offers look like in that? What does money coming to you look like? Maybe you have an idea, a number, what you would charge for one-to-one, what you would charge for a group thing. Okay, is that actually what you're selling? And are you selling it as though you expect people to buy? Because this is what tells us the truth about what we believe is what we assume and how we act. And so if you're saying that you believe that, but your assumption, conscious or unconscious, is that no one will pay you or no one will ever buy that or no one has money, then that tells you what you actually believe, which is not what you're saying you believe. So we have to practice assuming success, and then we have to act as though it's true. There's been times where I've shown up and I've been like, I don't know if this is actually going to work, but I'm like, I've got to get into the vibration, the energy, the belief of it's going to work. And then I've got to follow through in my choices. Even if a part of me is screaming, I don't think this is going to work. Action is huge. Our choice in the 3D is a part of our 5D process, showing up as though what you believe, as though what you say you believe is the truth. Even if you don't fully believe it, this is a huge lever that will move the needle for you. And so you've got to show up as though it's true. There's a time that doing what I do now in my business and in my life, like a part of me always believed I could do it, but it just felt so far away. And there were so many limitations. And it was just like, oh man, I don't know how I'm ever going to get there. And I built it choice by choice by choice by choice. So the question is, are you choosing? Are you building the structures? Do you have a money pathway in your business or whatever you do? Are you promoting it? Are you selling it? Are you serving people? Are you opening the doors when you look at, and it doesn't have to be all with the mind, because a lot of the times you're not going to know the how until afterwards or until you get the sort of divine downloads of the breadcrumbs. But when you say the amount of money that you want to make in a month or what you're calibrating to, are your choices in alignment with that? Could you, maybe in a stretch but within reason, get there? For me, I was probably calibrating to like $20,000 months. I was probably doing manifestation work around $20,000 and $50,000 months when I had that $22 membership. But it's like, think about how many people I would have to sell into that. And I don't have that audience. And yes, I could go viral or something, but it didn't really make sense. There was no pathway for that money to come in. There's a pathway now for that money to come in that feels easy, that feels aligned. And so generally, you're gonna want that money to be able to come in with less numbers, especially at first, because you need more structure, you need more systems, you need more stability, you need more support to hold more people. So all things for you to think about. I literally was like, this is gonna be like a 15-minute episode. I'm just gonna sit down and have this quick conversation. Here we are, it's almost an hour. I'm so glad though that I sat down and had this conversation with you in this energy, because I feel like a lot of what I shared today was really important. And so I really hope that you took a lot away from this. If you want to do this work more deeply with me, I have a bundle offer that's coming up. It's 3 programs that work at all these layers. So there's Expanded, which is all about not just raising your frequency as a concept, but literally understanding how to live in this higher vibrational, authentic state. I've Seen, which is a shadow work and visibility program. It's about recoding those beliefs on the deepest level, really digging up limiting beliefs and constructs that you're holding in the plane of your mind and rewriting them. The breakthroughs and transformations people got in this was incredible. And it also comes with an amazing 30-day visibility challenge that you get to do one prompt, one day at a time, that will really help you to show up online. And then the third is you're going to get the on ramp, which is really this powerful introduction to how the 3D and the 5D work together and how we use what we know about how our mind and our vibration and our consciousness is creating our reality, and how we need to choose and building the skills, literal skills, practices, and habits of making choices that are going to move you into alignment, into this reality that is a match for who you really are and who you're becoming, and the life that you can see and feel and touch with your mind and vibration, but have not yet experienced. So if you want to dive into that, it is a incredibly transformational sequence of programs, and you can find the link for that below, because I feel like this was a really important conversation. It would mean so much to me if you would leave a comment, if you're listening to my podcast, if you'd leave a rating, if you would want to send me a DM or share about this episode, share it with a friend who would need this. It helps me grow. And yeah, it just means so much to me. So thank you so much for being here with me today. Let me know what you took away from this. If you're not already, subscribe, and I will see you in the next episode. I'm sending you so much love, and bye for now.